class is in memory of Jared Orchen, and today we are going to learn the Haftorah for Parshat Teitzei. And the Haftorah is actually found on page 1375. What is happening for this Haftorah, it's a little complicated, but the Haftorah for Parshat Teitzei, in a year like this, we read a double size Haftorah. We read if you remember 2 weeks ago, we didn't read the regular Haftorah. We were studying the Haftorah of Shabbat Rosh Chodesh. Whenever it happens that Shabbat Rosh Chodesh is in this week's Rosh Chodesh Elul, is Shabbos, then the 2 weeks later, on the Haftorah of Parshat Teitzei, we will combine also the Haftorah that we were supposed to read 2 weeks ago. And we're reading because it's a continuation at the same chapter. It's one thing. And really, it's the same Haftorah that Parshat Noach. Therefore, we open on page 1375, because at the beginning of Parshat Noach and the Haftorah of Parshat Teitzei is the same Haftorah. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
do we read this twice or 3 times during the year?
Why 3 times? When else?
I thought there was another one, but I could be wrong. That's what I'm asking.
I think so. Maybe, listen. I don't know these things. Many others.
It always amazes me that these are all coming from Isaiah, but the order from within Isaiah is so different.
The order is different. We're jumping around, even not so much. Ultimately, we're going in order. He asked us his question before that. The Haftorah for Shabbat Rosh Chodesh was the last chapter in Isaiah, right? Mm-hmm. But it has nothing to do with these 7 weeks. Mm-hmm. It's because it was Rosh Chodesh. And it's sticked in. You understand? It's not a part of the series. In any case, the Haftorah of today, because it's 2 Haftorahs, it speaks about 2 sides, 2 types of relationship between God and the Jewish people. The first one is a husband and wife, more. The second one is more of a servant and a master. Now, what's the difference in these 2? A love between husband and wife is not based on merit. If you do this, I love you. If you don't do it, I will not love you. It's an emotion. Even if the wife, even the husband is many people love each other, even the other person is not the nicest. I mean, that's happening every day. I was giving advice to some very successful girl, and I told her it's not going, the person who will meet you and who will like you will not be because how much money you have or because how capable you are. If he likes you, he likes you. And it's true. It's not based, then a marriage love is not based on merit, you understand? On certain expectations and behavior of accomplishments. A husband of a relation between a servant and a master is totally based on accomplishment. Then what is better? What do you think? Don't be afraid. They only hear you, they don't see you.
This is only the human side? Only on the human side?
Yeah, in the human side. Or the godly side, whatever. It's 2 type relationships.
Servant and master is better.
Why?
On the godly side. Well,
Why?
what King David said.
Don't tell me because somebody said. I'm asking your opinion, not King David's opinion.
This is like the whole argument of Aaron and Moshe. It's 2 different, it's top down or bottom up. And ultimately you need both. And so just like...
What's better? It's a really complicated answer.
Yeah.
On one end, a love is not dependent on anything. It's love. If there is love, nothing makes a difference. Everything flies away. That when we come to do tshuva and kippur, what are you trying to do? You're trying to wake God's love. As you're going to read soon. We mentioned in the middle of the highlight of the prayers of Zichronot, it's called the remembrance in the Amidah of Rosh Hashanah, saying also you remember Noah with love. It's almost the tuning point of the whole prayer. That we start to talk about, God, forget about what happened. Just love us. And what you're trying to do on the Ne'ilah, the whole thing, it's about awakening God's love, the relationship with God and Jewish people should be so strong that whatever happened last year doesn't make a difference. But because there is no expectations, there's no accomplishments. A baby is loved by his parents, he will never do anything. He's loved, he doesn't do anything. If he smiles, even great. Even if he doesn't smile, they still love him. A master, a boss, and a worker, and a representative, it's about expectation. It means to say, I fulfill my mission, I become a person. I become a somebody. In a loving relationship, I'm not expected to do anything. I'm just loved because I'm cute, because she's cute, finish, you don't have to do anything. In a relationship of a giver and somebody who is expecting of you, your best comes out. God is expecting of us to be leaders, to be his representative on earth. Not just to be the cute bride. It's nice, but that's not the only side. God is expecting that what I mean to say, being a servant is not a derogatory term. It's an honor. It's like a public servant, right? It's a public servant. The president considers himself a public servant. You are judged by your merit, by your accomplishment, by your deed. That's why we have both sides of our relationship. And both of them have a place. Yes, before the class, why the relationship between husband and wife is revealed by the prophet. In the Bible, we have a relationship between God is the father and we are the children. God says to Moses, go to Pharaoh and told them, my firstborn son Israel. The first time you heard the word, my firstborn son Israel. Son, parent and son, father and son. Later, a little bit later, you hear God says the Jewish people are his servant. In Parshat Be'ar, Avod Hayatem, you are my servant. And before that, servant and a master. Husband and wife, you don't read in the 5 books of Moses, no husband and wife. You have to wait a long time until Hosea. When was Hosea? The time of Isaiah, right?
Yeah.
Year what?
722 BCE.
Basically 700 years after Mount Sinai? 600
Yeah,
years?
roughly.
A long time. The later prophet, the hot prophet, they revealed this relationship of husband and wife. Because then we needed to awake the love. It was about the love between the Jewish people and God. Later, the Talmud proves that Mount Sinai was a marriage. And the Song of Song, the book Song of Song written by King Solomon is about God and the Jewish people. It's not clear, not in the text. In the text, it's only by the later prophets. Then we started more as son and father. Then we became master and servant. Then we became husband and wife. And all three have a place. You know why? Because husband and wife is love, chesed. Master and servant is gvura. Gvura means judgment, discipline, din. You understand? It's a strict relationship. Love and fear. And father and child is rachamim, mercy. Father and a child, the relation between parents and children combines both. Love and fear. It's not only love. It's not only fear. It's a love and fear together. Then we need these three. We need love, we need fear, and we need sometimes both of them. And that's Abraham is love with God, right? Abraham was in love with God. God, whatever you want. Isaac was more in awe of God, fear is not the wrong word, in awe of God. And Jacob was both, Rachmim. Rachmim means mercy, Tiferet, beauty. Beauty is what's beauty? Beauty is a combination of a few colors. One color alone is not beautiful. A combination of colors is beautiful.
Harmonious.
Love, harmonious. Harmony, love and fear, chesed and gvura, both of them together. That's are the three relationships that we have. They don't get confused. Today we are the wife, tomorrow we are the servant, there is a father, make up your mind, what are you? It's this, and this, and this, and much more. We say Rosh Hashanah, we say Avinu Malkeinu. We take more the two sides of the 5 books of Moses, a father and a king. If husband and wife, and you don't need in the prayers so much. You read it in a different way. Love us, more a love of a father. The relationship on Rosh Hashanah and Kippur is more the Avinu. The love side is more the father, not so much the husband and wife. You recall anything in the high holiday prayers talking about husband and wife?
It's more merciful. To the Jewish
Talking
people.
about husband and wife.
No.
I don't recall. Okay, now we'll read a little bit from inside, just so that you know, because I need to read from inside. Go ahead.
Says God, O Jerusalem, during exile times, you were like a barren woman who never gave birth, since you were a city devoid of people. But now, in the times of the redemption, you can sing, O Jerusalem. Open your mouth and sing loudly, for you were a woman who never had labor pains. Now the inhabitants of Jerusalem, which previously lay desolate, are more numerous than the inhabitants of the built-up cities of Edom.
Okay, what he says here, the prophet Isaiah compares the Jewish people to a barren woman. What's the problem of a barren woman? She might have everything, but because she's barren, she doesn't see a future. She's sad not because of the reality of the present. She's sad because there is no future. If you tell this woman, in 10 years I promise you're going to have a child, she would relax. Not today, but I'll wait, I have something to wait. But there is no future, that now you're sad not because it's a bad life, she might have everything. Abraham tells God tells him, after the miracles from the war, God tells him, I'll give you this and this. He says, what all of this is good if I don't have a child to take over? The future is not good. That's Roni Akar. The Jewish people are compared to a barren woman who cannot give birth because they don't see a future. The future doesn't look good. We don't see anything. We're going to exile and we don't see that it's never going to end.
So this statement is made with the Jews in exile making that statement
Yes,
before they go back.
yeah, but this is the exile, not so much talking about how bad the exile is, as more about there is no future. When my mother tells me always that when they were in Russia, they used to wish each other, may Moshiach come, we'll go out from Russia. Going out from Russia in the 60s was like, Moshiach was a bigger reality than going out from Russia. That they used to wish each other, may Moshiach come, we'll go out from Russia. You mean, they didn't see a future, nothing to see. It's a barren woman who doesn't see a future. That Hashem tells them, the prophet tells her, don't worry, you're going to have many children. He comforts you for the future. Go ahead. O Jerusalem.
O Jerusalem, extend the area of your tent to include all your children. Stretch the curtains that mark the edge of your dwellings so that they spread out, for do not hold them back. Lengthen your ropes of your tents, expanding your borders, and strengthen your fastening pegs, so that your borders remain enlarged forever.
Make it as big as possible. You'll have so many people to bring under your tent, so to speak. You'll need everything. That's what the prophet is saying.
Is he saying expand your borders within the land of Israel or expand your borders beyond the land of Israel?
The land of Israel, as it was promised in the beginning, the 10 nations, not only the 7 nations.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
So up to the Euphrates River.
Exactly. Number 3.
For you will break through, spelling into the territory to the right and to the left. Your descendants will inherit nations, and they will multiply so much, they will inhabit desolate cities.
And many people tell you, you're going out now to Israel, they're inhabiting desolate cities. Israel was a desolate land until 100 years ago. The Jews came and they made it into a good place. And it's true. But a part of the prophecy, it has to be that they make it also spiritual. It shouldn't be desolate spiritually, not only not physically, but spiritually. A place that there's no God is a desolate city, wherever it is. The job of the Jews is to go, a midbar means a desert. A desert, we say, my brother is in China, Chabad Rabbi, that in the Jewish terminology, he went to the desert. Because from a Jewish point of view, he's in the desert. Even that Shanghai is the biggest city in the world, probably. There are more people in Shanghai than there is Jews all over the world. But from a Jewish point of view, it's a desert. that making a inhabitant city means who is the inhabitant? There is a line in the Bible, Mokem asher lo yoshev odom sham. It's one of the Haftorahs, a place that a man was not sitting there. Then when the Chassidus explain which man, the man, Adam, the ultimate man, means to say God. Odom she'al hakisei, right? The man who is on the chair, on the throne. A place that does not recognize God is a desolated place.
Is this passage cited by the settlers in Judea and Samaria today?
Yeah, big time.
Okay.
They're using it a lot. Not only this, a lot of from these prophets, yes, from these prophecies. Number 4.
Do not fear another exile after the redemption. Do not be ashamed or embarrassed to proudly display your greatness, for fear that you may be exiled again. For you will not be disgraced with another exile. You will forget the shame of the exile of your youth. You will no longer remember the disgrace of your widowhood when you were a people without a king.
Then what he says here is like this. Usually, let's say a person was very rich, then he lost everything. When he gets rich again, he says, this time I'm not going to show anything because I don't want to lose any again and be embarrassed again. That God tells the Jewish people, after the final exile, you have nothing to be afraid to show off your greatness because you'll not go back again to the old way, to the old time. You'll not lose it again. That's what he's saying here.
No, excuse me, what exile are they talking about here? There were 4, right?
There's 100. The point is,
big ones.
Yeah. He's talking about the exile between the comforting words of the prophet were not yet fulfilled completely. It is talking about the final redemption. Not only exile is included, the exile between the first temple and the second temple, but you need to understand, the second temple was also exile. There was no ark. It was controlled by the Goyim, Persia allowed the Jews, then the Jews didn't really have independency, then the exile they never really came out of exile. It was not the ultimate redemption. It was a temporary redemption. Relative to what happened before, it was great. We have a temple. It was not the ultimate. Then what he says, will come a day that you'll come, it wasn't fulfilled yet.
Does Isaiah keep switching back and forth between
So I was gonna say, this is switching back and forth. I mean, futuristic, even for us.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I wouldn't call it switching back and forth. It's something's happened, something's not yet. You understand?
It's a matter of
When I tell you what's going to happen from now on and forever, and then comes a person who lives 100 years from today, and something's happened, and you say, oh, something going to happen. When Isaiah said it, it was before the destruction of the first temple. Some of this were fulfilled by the beginning of the second temple. Some things didn't fulfilled yet. You understand what I'm saying?
You're talking about the future, it's just how far in the future.
Exactly.
So we already know that.
All of it is the future. How much? 100 years or 5,000 years? What should I do? I mean,
Or all of it.
he never wrote a date.
So we already know that we're in the final exile.
We are in the final exile, yes. And Moshiach will come. Now Moshiach is coming. Will not be any more exiles. This is it. We are this close to Moshiach. Could be tonight. You'll hear on the news that Moshiach is coming. The Alter Rebbe said at that time we're only newspaper. And Moshiach will come, will be printed in the Gazette, in the newspapers. Now will be on the news, on the internet, on Instagram.
Instantaneous.
I saw Moshiach. Everybody will see him in 1 second.
I don't think so.
I think so.
Everybody? I thought only the deserving were going to.
No, everybody. The whole idea is to redeem the whole world. See, if you redeem only a part of it, that's not Moshiach. Moshiach means that everybody is redeemed. If I redeem only myself, I can do it myself now in my office, redeem myself, and then I'll be happy.
I thought I read someplace that when it comes, it's going to be this, a lot of people are going to get cleaned out.
No. I know what you read. You picked it up in other.
I did.
I know. Yes. I'll tell you what it means. It's written that a third will die, a third will this. The Rebbe once spoke about it, and he said like this: how could we say that a third will die? It's written in we say in Ashrei, "Verachamav al kol ma'asav." God is merciful on all these things that He created. Who created the world? I created it. God created it. Then God should destroy his own world. You ever saw somebody having children, God forbid, somebody's creating, even forget about it. You're making a Lego. You feel bad to break it. Even you know when you're making it that it's made to be broken. A person builds a house, even if he has to build a bigger house, he has to destroy the old house. It's hurting him. What does this mean? That it's written that Moshiach will come after the resurrection of the dead. It will be like this. The Jews will be living forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Living forever is a gift for the Jews. The rest of the world will live a nice life and die out. They will not. Having children will stop for everybody. Then people will live to be 120, 155, 165, but eventually they'll die. It's not like it will be wiped out. Eventually, these people will go away, but not in a bad way. You understand what I'm saying? Then when Moshiach comes, everybody who is alive will see it. Everybody.
But it's not after the resurrection of the dead.
It's before the resurrection. Moshiach comes before the resurrection. Moshiach brings about the resurrection of the dead. Then Moshiach will come, everybody will be there. From China to Alaska, everyone will be there. Every human being will be a part of it. Animals will be a part of it. The whole world will sing in joy, from joy. Everybody. It's going to be the best day ever. It'll be so good. It'll be amazing.
It's not going to be physical.
Why not physical? What means? Moshiach is a regular human being. Moshiach is a guy, probably with a white beard.
Moshiach.
But the world will be a better place. First of all, will be no wars. Think about how many wars is happening today, and think will be Moshiach will come. I met a guy the other day. He has a business. He sends pieces of for the army, like a weapon and things like this. He tells me, I will have work for business forever. Business is booming. He tells me the whole world is in chaos. So there'll be business forever. There'll be a world of no hatred and no fights. You know what kind of a world will be? No grudges. Can you imagine? Jews with no grudges? What are you going to do all day?
People are gonna what? They're just gonna sit around and play checkers?
They will be bored. You have nothing to be angry with.
A lot of people in Torah place.
You'll be under your fig tree. You know,
Then even if the world doesn't change physically,
spiritually.
the state of mind of people will change, that they will be healthy, they will not be fights. The world will be an amazing place to be. That will already change so many things. We know killing, all these bad things that we hospitals be. I mean, we'll have to look for a different job. God willing. Then most of the jobs in the world are based on tragedy of somebody else. Always the same. But Berkowitz Cuban says that they had a good year. What does this mean? When the hospital said they had a good year. When an insurance agent has a good year, what does this mean? I mean, no matter what you touch, it's from one problem, somebody else makes a living. That's how God created it. Good and bad is so intertwined, it's so mixed. There's no good without bad and no bad without good. Since after the sin of the tree of knowledge, it's a combination. Okay, we went too far. Let's go back. Number 5.
For the name of your husband who made you great is the God of hosts who could possibly oppose you, isn't it? Your redemption, none other than the Holy One of Israel, who will then be called God of the entire world by all.
Then he will be,
why would be afraid?
That's husband and wife then, right there.
exactly. But he will call the God of the whole world when Moshiach comes. Not just the God of Israel, the God of the whole world. Number 6.
For God has called you to return to him like a husband who calls to his forsaken and dejected wife, like a man who was briefly disgusted by the wife of his youth, but soon forgives her, says your God.
Then here is a love relationship. It's not because she's doing something. Is it the wife of his youth, the high school sweetheart, that he loved her all the time. He was angry with her for 5 minutes, now he loves her back.
Is this the classic separation?
Yeah, that's exactly the separation between husband and wife, yeah. And then he continues in number 7 in the same tune.
When I abandoned you, it was only for a short moment compared to the time when I will gather you.
Okay. Which will last?
Which will last forever due to my great mercy.
ברגע קוטן עזבתיך. My abandoned will, when Moshiach will come, exile will look like a mere moment. Will it look like this? The good will be so unbelievable. Then the bad years will be remembered like, it was 5 minutes. It will be like a small moment, like one thing.
I
What?
thought of something. When Mashiach comes, the people that have already died and passed away will not see Mashiach.
They will be resurrected later, sure.
But Mashiach isn't.
And Moshiach will be there when they're
He's so.
resurrected.
He's just going to be there.
Sure he will be there. Without Moshiach, nothing happens. But we'll go back to the idea that in a mere moment, God left us. You know, when God forbid the restores to the Jewish people of the Holocaust, we use this verse. For a moment, God had forsaken us, but He will gather us with great mercy and with love, and will be so good that the good days will look long and the bad days will look like a mere moment. Number 8.
Compared to the everlasting kindness with which I will have mercy upon you, I hid my face from you for just a moment, and I was only a little angry, says God, your Redeemer.
I cover, whenever we see, it's called Esther Panim. Whenever there is sorrows and God doesn't help us, it's called God covers His face. It's a time that we don't see the face of God. But God will bring us back with everlasting kindness and mercy. Number 9.
This anger was for me like the waters of Noah. Just as I swore never to allow the waters of Noah to pass again over the earth, so too I swore not to be angry at you or rebuke you.
Oh, tell me. That's an amazing statement here. What happened in the water of Noah? That Noah did something that made God decide that we'll never do a flood again?
You made an offering.
Who made the rainbow? God. I'm asking you that Noah did something that deserved the promise from God not to ever do a flood again. No. Right? That means God made a decision that even people will make Him angry again, no matter what will happen, He will never destroy the world again. The same promise God is making now. It has nothing to do with what you do. No matter what, I promise you, I will never abandon you again. That's what God is saying. It's not dependent on a certain behavior. It's not up to you. It's like Noah, like the story with the flood. God said, I'll never make a flood again. I will never abandon the Jewish people again.
Will there be a physical sign of that?
What?
So is he talking specifically to the Jews, or is he
Yes.
talking to just mankind?
No, mankind he already promised. He says, like,
I see.
is like the water of Noah. Kimei Noah, like the water of Noah, that I swore, that I took an oath, that I will never, I'll never do it again. So too I'm promising you. Continue the next verse, number 10.
For the mountains may move away and the hills might collapse in an earthquake, but my kindness will not leave you, nor will my covenant of peace collapse, says God, who is merciful to you.
Yeah. The mountains might collapse. It might be an earthquake. The world might go upside down. But my covenant with you will never go away. It has nothing to do with what you do. That just like the promise from to Noah was made, that's why we mentioned Noah on Rosh Hashanah. For this promise, he said to God,
So even if bad things happen, I'm still with you.
I will always be with you. No matter what the Jewish people will do, he will never break the covenant. That's what God said. The mountains will move. Everything will fall apart. The world will be destroyed. My relationship with you will never be destroyed, no matter what. Till now was the first part of the Haftorah, till chapter number 10 of the same chapter 54 of the book of Isaiah. Now it continues in number 11. That's basically, as I told you in the beginning, it's a combination of two Haftorahs. Now the second Haftorah takes a little switch. Now it's talking about...
Can I ask something
Sure.
here? I'm sorry, I'm still reading.
Sure.
So this may pertain to the, why do bad things happen to good people kind of thing. I mean, what this is perhaps saying, if I'm understanding you correctly and I'm looking at this, is, don't focus so much on the earthquake, on the bad things happen. Focus on, the relationship. I'm with you. The relationship with Hashem continues and gives you strength.
That's an interesting way to look at it, yeah. That means no matter what will happen, you didn't lose my relationship. It could be a Holocaust. Don't think that because of that you lost your relationship with God. It's very interesting because many people felt
God is there, still there in the soft, still voice.
No matter what happened, He's with you in the worst of the worst. Yes. The world can come to an end, but God is still with you. Because He promised you that He will never abandon you, no matter what happens.
So in essence, it's saying, if I'll pick up on it, so in essence, He's saying that you could be swept away in a flood or die in an earthquake, or be in a plane crash,
or die in the Holocaust.
But know that God is with you later.
God with the Jewish people.
Before, and even with you. You're one of the Jews.
Later, I mean, because
it's not just a collective, it's an individual. Every collective is made from individuals.
Because there's a promise for there's a promise for rebirth.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's not take it, you are right, but you don't have to go to the worst situation. In the daily life, it says, even there is an earthquake. And what means to say, no matter what happened to the Jewish people, don't translate it that God abandoned you for us, or abandoned us forever. Really, it's a theology argument between, here's the expert, between the Jews and the Christians, right?
Yeah.
If God abandoned the Jewish people or not. And here the prophet says, no matter what will happen, God will never abandon the Jewish people. And this what kept, these lines were spread all over the Bible, what kept the Jewish people going. That's why we are here sitting here today. If we would not have these lines, we would say, really, it's already said in the Torah. The Haftorah, in the next week's Parshat, there is curses. And that's to the curses are twice in the Bible. That after all the curses, God says, V'av gamzois, and even though, no matter what will happen, when you'll be in the enemies, in the land of your enemy, I didn't forget you, and I will not forsake you, and I will be with you. Means to say, yeah, terrible things might happen. But don't think I gave up. I left. I never left.
So terrible things happen to the Jews in every single generation.
Yeah, every single generation
now,
is a stretch.
We see that things are getting worse for the Jews than ever in most of our lifetime.
Okay,
So
let's say.
In some locations.
Go ahead.
Can you also interpret this as, I will never forsake you or abandon you, but I will still punish you?
That's not a contradiction.
So he still causes these things to happen?
Sure.
It's no different than a parent who has a child who loves them very much, but then says, go to your room.
Yeah, reprimands him.
It's a consequence, and you don't even call it, so many parents don't call them punishments. They say, look, you do this is a consequence.
Yeah, in modern society, we change the names, that's it. But they're actually doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just for mortals, it's a harsh rebuke.
What do you mean?
When he talks about a Holocaust or something like that, and you see 6 million people.
You see, listen, no matter what, we cannot take every time things to the Holocaust.
Well, whatever it is.
What I mean to say is like this. Yeah, the bottom line is God says, no matter what will happen, I'm with you. Sure, God makes it. God says all the curses in the book of in the Torah says He will punish the Jewish people, but it doesn't mean I abandoned you. The worst thing is when you think that's it, it's over. It will never come back. When people give up, that's the end. When a person says there is no hope, and God says there is hope because I'm always with you. I never abandon
This
you.
has really kept the Jewish people. I mean, imagine all the crises we've been through. I mean, who's the one who said even more than Isaiah? Jeremiah. He's the one saying, the temple's going to get destroyed. Watch out, it's coming. And Jeremiah's the one who stands up time and time again and says, but
Exactly.
I'm still with you.
Exactly. And that's what it's
And
all
that's what's
about.
kept everybody going.
Absolutely. We are going, moving on. Never give up. Now, we're talking now about a relationship of more of somebody, the woman who is suffering now, not like a barren woman who is, life is good but she doesn't see a future. Not talking about somebody who is now, life is bad. You know, Aniya Soara, he calls it afflicted woman. Aniya is also a poor woman, poor physically, financially. You know, in America there is a saying, as long as I'm healthy, as long as we are healthy. You know who says it? The rich. Let's say a poor man has 3 children. He's very healthy, but he doesn't have money to buy food for the kids. What is good as he is healthy? Oh, as long as you're healthy. Somebody in Portugal is like, oh, as long as you're healthy. It's nice to be healthy, but if you cannot pay for the electricity, health is not good enough. This is talking about Aniya Soara, the Jewish people are poor, life is bad, life is hard. Yeah, they're healthy, but life is hard. That's what they're talking. Not about they don't see a future. In the present, it's more, the problem is more the present than the future. Okay, where are we?
O Jerusalem, you afflicted, storm-tossed one, who has not been comforted. I will lay your floor stones upon antimony instead of sand, and lay your foundations with sapphires. I will make your window panes from emeralds, your gates from carbuncle stones, and the floor stones of all your borders will become desirable gems.
Whoa! God says, I'll make you so rich, you'll not even know where to start. And he says, the words that he's using in Hebrew, they have even a lot more power. He says, I will make your windows, pens? What is this?
Panes, a pane of what?
From emerald?
Emeralds?
Emeralds. What's emerald? It's
It was a stone, green stone.
The green.
Green stone,
green
expensive stone. Something kat kochim sotair. The Talmud says the word in the second line, the last word is kat kod. Kat kod is a word that doesn't exist in another place in the Bible. Kat kod.
And what's the English they give here for
The Talmud says there is an argument in what is kat kod. What kind of stone is it? You know what the argument is? Between Gabriel and Michael. You ever heard Gabriel and Michael? Gabriel and Michael, 2 angels, arguing what type of stone is it. That's what Talmud says.
Why?
One says it's Yoshpei and one says it's Shoam. What's Shoam and Yoshpei? Reminds you somewhere? Something?
The urine.
Yeah.
The stones of the breastplate, the last 2 stones by the last 2 are Shoam and Yoshpei. Michael says, I think it's Shoam. Gabriel said Yoshpei, the opposite. Argument. What God says, Lehevei kedain ukedain. It'll be Shoam and Yoshpei together. Kat kod, kedain ukedain. This way and this way. It means to say like this. Shoam and Yoshpei, Gabriel and Michael representing 2 sides. Fire and water. Gabriel is fire, gvura, from the word discipline, judgment. Michael is sar shel chesed, is the kind representative of the angel. Is water. Water represents kindness, going relaxed. There is a lot of similarities between fire and water. Water brings life, but water can I mean, when there is what it's called, water can,
Flood.
a tsunami, it's over.
Hurricane.
A hurricane can destroy the world. Fire is the same thing. Fire can warm up. Fire is the power that creates everything, and fire can burn and destroy everything. But fire and water are, when we say about 2 people, they are like fire and water, there is a reason why. Because they're the opposite. Fire goes up, water goes down. Fire evaporates the water, water puts out the fire. It just doesn't go together. You know, we know the song, Oseh Shalom Bimromav. What this really says? Oseh Shalom Bimromav, the one who makes peace in the above. Oseh Shalom means peace. The one who makes peace in the above. Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu. You should bring peace upon us. Why? Because to bring peace between fire and water is an impossible task. Who can do it? God. Angels. It's written that angels are a combination, a combination of water and fire and water. That's in general, angels. What does this mean? They are the impossible. That's what it means. God can make the impossible. Sometimes people think they can do the impossible. They can't. Sometimes president and prime ministers think that they're going to bring peace in the world. They're a little naive, just a little bit.
It's not really impossible.
Only God can do the impossible, to bring fire and water together. Then he says, here it's more than that. Shom in Kabbalah, Shom in Yoshpe, Shom represents the light that comes from God to the world. Yoshpe, it's Joseph and Benjamin. It's all, basically one is from above below, the one is from below up. Prayer and Torah. It's all the same code, the same things, you understand? The Torah came from God to the Jewish people. The prayer is from us to God. There is something unique about the light that God gives us. There's something unique about when we elevate ourselves to God. When God shines upon us, it doesn't have the boundaries of a human being, but we are not necessarily vessels to receive the light. When we do it, it's real. It's an inside. It's an internal thing, but it's only this size because we do it. And God says when Moshiach will come, will be both. We need both, not only Moshiach come. Even today, that's why in every Sabbath and Shul, there is the two things. We pray to God. God reads the Torah to us. It goes two ways. That's what he's thinking. It says, and the gates to Jerusalem will be with special stones, and all your borders will be full of desirable stones, gems. Number 13.
All your children will be extremely wise, as if they were disciples of God, and your children will have much peace.
V'chol bonaich limudei Hashem v'rav shlom bonaich. When we say it in the prayer book, we say it every day before Oleinu. We say Omar Rabbi Lozer, said Rabbi Lozer, and name of Rabbi Chanina. The rabbis bring peace in the world, and they wanted to bring an example. Then they asked us, professor, the Talmudic rabbi said sense of humor. Had a sense of humor. He says, they say that the rabbis bring peace to the world. More rabbis, there is more argument, right? But the Talmud quotes there, "V'chol bonaich limudei Hashem." All your children are disciples of the Torah of God. V'rav shlom banaich, and they have peace. And then the Talmud continues, do not call it banaich, but bonaich. Not children, but builders. It's not children. The children are the builders. And this quote that we say before Oleinu is the end of 4 Talmudic tractates. In the Talmud, 4 different Talmudic tractates.
This is like Shabbat.
And the Talmudic, we say it every day, and the Talmudic tractate, the acronym for the 4 Talmudic tractate is the word Banaich. Brachot, Nazir, Yuma, and Kritut. Bet, Nun, Yud, Chav. The word Banaich is the 4 Talmudic tractate. They finish with this Talmudic statement. In any case, what it says here is that every child will be a disciple of the Torah, a disciple of God. Number 14. You see here, it's more a discussion of what we will do. It's not about love. It's about deserving the right to deserving our relationship with God. Number 14.
No. Through your righteousness, you will be fit for all of this.
I'm sorry, I'll stop you. It's translated righteousness, but in Hebrew it's written Betzedakah tekoneni. Not just righteousness. With charity. With good deeds. That's the same idea of righteousness. But you will be fit to all of this because of your tzedakah and your righteousness. And then he continues to say, what else you have to do?
You will distance yourself from all fraudsters who have no fear of me at all, and from terror, for it will not come near you. Indeed,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Indeed, people will fear no one but me. Whoever attacks you will fall into your power. Okay, what he says here is like this. When you remove yourself from evil, when you will do charity and righteousness, then nobody will be able to touch you. But it's a give and take. It's dependent on our action. Not like before it spoke about love. It's more about a relationship of a master and a servant, or a relationship of a different type of relationship.
Go ahead.
So this war is before we have world peace, then, the interim stage.
Obviously. How you get to your
You gotta have war
redemption.
before you get
what
peace.
what will you deserve to get there? Go ahead. Okay.
Okay. Behold, it was I who created the smith to fan coal flames and make the tools of his trade, and it was I who created the destroying enemy to destroy itself. Every weapon engineered against you will not succeed, and every tongue raised against you in judgment you will have it condemned. This is the inheritance of God's servants, and their just reward from me, says God.
Okay, this is the end of this chapter, of chapter 54 of the book of Isaiah. It says, nobody can be strong. I created everything. You're afraid of the weapon? I made the weapon. Whatever you create, you have nothing to be worried about. The servant of God is using the word servant of God. You see, it's a relationship of servant. It's for me, and I will take care of them, and I will protect them. No one will be able to, no matter what kind of weapon they will create, will not be successful. No matter what type of nation or language or whatever you use, will not be able to hurt you, because I will protect you.
Quick question. This is the first time we see servants in the plural in the second half of Isaiah.
Avdei Hashem.
It's used again and again after this, but it's the first time it's plural.
I must tell you, I would never know that. Thank you.
That's in English.
No, it's right. Avdei Hashem, it's in Hebrew. There is Eved Hashem, there is Avdei Hashem. Avdei is plural, all of us. Eved is a specific person.
Do you think this is...
No, it's written in the Torah, Avod Hayatem. You are my servants, in plural.
Yeah, in Isaiah 43, okay.
In the Bible, in the 5 books of Moses,
Okay.
in the book, in the Parshas
Leviticus
Be'ar,
25, yeah.
Avodai item. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then the plural is already
Servants,
there.
yeah, it's used there, but I mean, in Isaiah, this is the first time we see servants plural, and he uses it again and again after
Yes,
this.
and it's interesting because it became a common expression that some rabbi wants to be showed that he's very humble. He writes, he signs, he says, I am the servant to the servants of God. He doesn't even consider himself a servant of God. He says, Eved le'avdei Hashem, a servant to the servant of God. I have a brother-in-law. Every time I ask them, what are you going to do? He tells me, whatever my wife tells me, I'm a Eved le'avdei Hashem. I'm a servant to the servant of God. Whatever my wife tells me, that's what I do.
I have a similar question in terms of singular, plural, and
Yeah.
another question. It was I who created the destroying enemy to destroy itself. Is the destroying enemy a group of adversaries or a person?
Could be what? Why should it be?
I think isn't it just more dealing with the fact that if I can create the weapon, I can destroy the weapon too?
Okay, is that what? Okay, so
Yes,
it's
I don't
not,
think it's a
it's not
particular-
meant to be.
specific
It's
thing,
not meant to be
It's
an
a-
It's a
adversary.
concept. Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
thinking more in terms of the Mashiach and the.
No, it's more a general type of thing, idea. Any nation or every group or every power that will come will not be able to destroy you. You have another question? You say you had something else?
Well, I guess the other question is, it is I who created the destroying enemy. So, I mean,
Basically, God-
so obviously, this reinforces the concept that it's not just good that comes from God. That,
Everything,
that
absolutely.
evil comes from God as well.
Not only God clearly says.
it can be
Yeah, yeah,
interpreted
yeah.
as a statement supporting.
You're
evil.
absolutely right, because God tells the prophet, Jeremiah says, I will send Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king that destroyed Jerusalem, is called
The servant
the servant of God. Talking about servant? He's called the servant of God. Nebuchadnezzar is called the servant, because now he did what I want from him. He's the servant of God. Oh, yeah. Now he's doing what I want from him. It's nothing happens by itself.
Bilam's that way.
It's everybody and everything. Even Pharaoh, the same thing. Now comes chapter 55. Oh, go ahead. I'm supposed to read. Oi kol tzameh lechu lamayim. Everyone who is thirsty should go to the water. Which water are we talking about?
Garden of Eden.
Do we have to tell people, do you have to tell somebody who's thirsty to run to the water? Tell me. You have to convince somebody, oh, you're thirsty, I have an idea for you. Go to the water.
Well, it says go to the prophet and drink his water.
To the Torah.
To the Torah. That's why we learn it. It means about the Torah. Because nobody has to tell you to go to the water. It says anybody who is thirsty for God. Because there's another verse in the book of, I don't know, remember, maybe Malachi. And these days, nobody will be thirsty for water. Nobody will be hungry for bread and thirsty for water. Kim lishmoa dvar Hashem, to hear the word of God. But he says here also, he's talking about the prophet Isaiah speaks about every thirsty person should go to drink water. He's talking about the water. The Torah is compared to water. Why is the Torah compared to water?
Because it makes all things grow, just like water does.
That's an interesting thought.
And it also goes from top to bottom, that it goes from the
This
highest
is what
level.
goes from up to bottom. It came from God to us. And then there is one more, but we'll read the verse and then we'll talk about that.
This one, is the Psalm with King David, does he say that he thirsts for water, or he wouldn't say that?
Maybe.
Is that one?
Yeah.
Thirst?
He says, it's all nafshi,
Really?
sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
He says that King David says, I'm thirsty my heart is thirsty to you. I'm in the middle of the desert. And he says, in a land that doesn't have water. And then he says, I remember the days when I was in front of you in the temple. Yes.
Even those who have no money go and eat. Come and
Hey. Oh, start with number 1, the beginning. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Oy, everyone who is thirsty for God's word, go to the prophet and drink his water. Even those who have no money, go and eat. Come and take wine and milk without paying, without charge, for the prophet's wisdom is free.
Okay, that's it. Wine, milk, and water. All these 3 things, you preserve them in very simple vessels. There is a story of Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania. He's a very smart man. And the daughter of the king told him why, but he was very ugly. The daughter of the king told him, why are you so ugly? He says, where is your father keeping the wine? In what type of vessels? In wooden vessels. You are so rich, you should keep it in gold. They moved it to gold vessels, and the wine spoiled. It means he wanted to tell her the most important wisdom is in a simple vessel. But what it means to us is, if we want to preserve the water of the Torah, the wine of the Torah, the milk of the Torah, is when we are very simple vessels. The Torah is only holding to somebody who is very humble.
So
and only then he can learn the Torah, and the Torah is an effect on him.
So the wine represents the secrets?
The
And
wine
milk's the
represents,
food?
it's complicated and many different. In one place it's written, wine is the written Torah, milk is the oral Torah. In other places it's written that the water is the regular Torah, wine is the Kabbalah, and oil is Hasidus. It's the secret of all secrets. The harder it's out to get it out, it means it's more the secret part of the Torah. To squeeze out from the wine from the grapes, you have to work harder. Water is available. It's the necessities. Then there is something, it's more a luxury. And oil, it's even harder to get out. It means the secret of the Torah. But in general, these 3 are all liquids that are sustenance, and a person must have them to survive. Then you can, in many times, the Talmud is compared to bread, and the wine is compared to the secret parts of the Torah. But in any case, he speaks about the 3 things that a person should fill himself up with the necessity of learning, what must be learned, and also with the things that he can enjoy. Like wine gives him enjoyment. Number 2, why
do you pay money and invest your energies in non-Jewish wisdom without getting any real substance or bread? Why do you labor in something that cannot give satisfaction? Listen to me, learn Torah, and you will eat well and satisfy your souls with rich foods.
You know what the prophet is talking about? People go to the Far East, to the Dalai Lama, to the this and to the yens, trying to satisfy. They're looking to buy, to pay. They pay a lot of money. Why are you wasting money on things that will never satisfy you? You'll always look for something else. You'll always try something different. Go to something that will quench your thirst, will make you happy. You'll feel comfortable. Also, when you learn Torah, you're never satisfied. You know why? Because the Torah is because it's the wisdom of God, always leave you a taste of more. More. There is more. There is. The more you learn, the more you see how much you don't know. And the more you want to learn more. The more humble you become. Go ahead, number 3.
Incline your ears and come to me to hear my words. Listen, and you will merit to live again with the revival of the dead. I will make an eternal covenant with you, and enduring as my loyalty to David. Indeed, I have made his enduring dynasty as proof of to the nations, that my word always endures. And Mashiach and his descendants will be a ruler and leader of the nations.
Okay, I'll continue.
Likewise, my promise to you will be fulfilled. Indeed, nations that you do not know will call upon you to serve you, and nations which never knew you will run to you to follow your orders. But they will not do this due to your own power, but for the sake of your God, the Holy One of Israel, who dwells among you and who has glorified you.
You know what the prophet is saying here? When the world is running after you, don't think because you're smart. They're running after you because of God that you're representing.
It's the same thing